It's time for Agriculture, presented by Turkana Farms in Germantown, New York, a small-scale producer of heritage breed livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres. They also produce a full array of garden vegetables, many of them heirloom varieties raised naturally, as well as an assortment of berries, including raspberries, blackberries, gooseberries, black, red, and white currants, mulberries, and elderberries. And now, here's Mark Scherzer.
Thursday, July 16th, 2020. The last in a string of delightfully cool days, punctuated by not quite enough rain showers. Eric and I, both fighting cabin fever, decided to try an outing. A talented young clarinetist, Viktor Toth of the Orchestra now, offered a sunset serenade from a boat moored in the Rondout Creek at Kingston to an audience seated on a modest little lawn on shore. The unassuming venue was lent a certain monumental air by an impressive train trestle traversing the stream, towering perhaps 100 feet above us. Attendance was sparse, maybe 40 people, and they carefully socially distanced and were so assiduously masked that we felt self-conscious unmasking to eat our picnic dinner. Nevertheless, to enjoy live music outdoors in the midsummer breeze, as the sun went down, felt an awful lot like one of the outdoor concerts that once made normal summer evenings so delightful. After a dispiriting week of plummeting expectations in which everyone seemed bummed by a pandemic spiraling out of control, perhaps I could be forgiven for imagining that we were moving back toward a pre-COVID normality. Friday, July 17th. That soupçon of more hopeful times was, it turned out, all the gods would allow me. Overnight, the humidity rose and caused disquieting dreams. No, thanks, I don't want dental work performed on the E-train platform at Chambers Street. And from the moment I awoke Friday, any sense that I was scourge-free had vanished. Shortly before 7 on Friday, I toddled out to the vegetable garden to start the sprinkler and pick an order of lacinato kale. I had not paid a whole lot of attention to the kale of late. After I put a small chicken wire fence around it and weeded and mulched the patch a couple of weeks ago, I could see as I passed by nearby that it was finally growing and not being chewed down almost nightly anymore by the groundhogs. I turned my attention to other more pressing garden matters. But upon close inspection Friday morning, it was quickly apparent that the straight-leafed lacinato kale, while free of nibbles by hopping herbivores, had been enjoyed by an entirely different pest, in this case sand fleas, which ate so many little pinholes in the leaves that they had an airy look, kind of like Spanish lace fan. I felt it wasn't saleable and offered the less affected curly leaf kale instead, but my offer was declined. I felt frustrated by the predations of nature. From the garden, I moved on to the portable chicken pen. Those cute chicks that arrived in the mail about 2.5 weeks ago had feathered out and grown enough to be moved outdoors this Monday, and they were happily foraging. I had already moved the pen twice to fresh new grass. This morning, though, I could see right away that something was wrong. As I approached, the entire group ran toward the back of the pen, as is their wont, but 4 up front did not move. They could not, having been reduced to 4 headless carcasses. Clearly the work of a weasel, I thought. Examining the front of the pen, I realized that when I had last moved it to fresh grass, it came to rest on a very slight swale, with the ground dipping an inch or 2 below the wooden frame. Apparently that small space was enough to allow the weasel access, at least enough to grasp chickens close to the edge, kill them, and take the head. A distressing turn of events. But with a busy workday ahead, it was all I could do to dispose of the carcasses, get a couple of boards to close the gap, and put fortification on my to-do later today list. After all, weasel attacks are generally nocturnal. After a day in the office upstairs, I returned to the portable pen to find another 2 carcasses and 1 chicken with apparently superficial wounds on the side. I was stunned by this daytime second wave of the attacking marauder, which, like the second wave of COVID in the summer, wasn't supposed to happen. In place of the clearly inadequate boards I had put around the base of the pen, I scavenged from around the farm various heavy 6x6 blocks of wood, cut off remnants from an old building project, and placed them at every spot around the pen where there was any daylight between the bottom of the frame and the ground. Uncertain of the enemy I was fighting, I used the weapons I had on hand. I fed our other critters and headed back to the garden. As I entered, a groundhog was exiting, chewing on what appeared to be a leaf from a newly denuded broccoli plant as it strolled out. The groundhogs had clearly moved on from kale to other brassicas, particularly enjoying the broccoli and cabbage. Now I understand why my crops are so late. Chomped back by the groundhogs, the plants have to keep starting over. The young groundhog and I both froze and stared at each other. Taking my cue from Lily, Eric's dog, after a few seconds I started barking, or at least yelling at him to get out. That sent him scurrying off through a hole in the fence. I set about creating another chicken wire fence around the broccoli patch, which took me until dusk, but which will, I hope, allow us to enjoy some broccoli in August. While I was working on the broccoli fence, who should I notice entering through the open garden gate but one of our large cohort of young rabbits, who seemed to be reproducing like, well, rabbits. By that time, I was too tuckered out to do anything other than yell at it and close the gate behind it as it ran back out. It's clear I have many threats to beat back, and success may still put me in a place that's something less than wonderful. It seems a lot like the larger world out there. Frustrated and discouraged by forces that threaten my little farm kingdom, it would be tempting just to give up and maybe go play golf. Who knows? Tomorrow the threats could just disappear. But I do have these small chickens and plants depending on me. And if I don't do anything to protect them and just hope the problems go away, will anyone think I really deserve another term as farmer? Postscript. Saturday, July 18th, 2020. Shortly before 7 a.m., sleeping in a little later, I look out my second-story bedroom window at the quickly evaporating mist. Something large scurries up the pine tree, fast and decidedly non-squirrely in its movements. I run to the window and look up as it hangs momentarily by its tail and moves to the next tree. My quick "can weasels climb" search produces a picture of a long-tailed weasel looking remarkably like what I am seeing in the tree. I have met the enemy. My trek out to the portable pen is full of trepidation. On arrival, I find that the injured chicken has died, but it's not beheaded, and no new injuries or deaths have occurred. Have I flattened the curve? This is not Florida. I'm not declaring victory yet.
Agriculture is underwritten by Turkana Farms, LLC, a small-scale producer of heritage-bred livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres in Germantown, New York. More information, 518-537-3815.